I'm Adam Pennell, Shropshire lad, and I'm here today to cook some festival fare for Hobtoberfest. We're going to make some surf and turf sliders with some awesome Denver steak. We're going to melt cheese all over it. We're going to put it onto a smoky beer brioche bun that we're going to make using this awesome Hobgoblin Ruby. And then we're going to serve it up with a beer battered prawn on the top. Let's get to it. Make some dirty onions here. So I've got these red onions, and literally all we're going to do is throw them in the fire until they get really black and charred and gnarly, and they're going to look like the charcoal that's in there, but what will be inside will be the sweetest, most delicious onion, because all of the moisture gets pushed out and obviously it allows the sweetness to come through. It'll be incredible. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through how to make these beer brioche buns. I'm going to take 600 grams of strong white bread flour, 100 grams of butter, rub the butter into the flour like as if you were making a crumble. Then we're going to make a little well in the middle of the flour, pop in an egg, some fast action yeast, top it up with the beer, a pinch of salt, and then just mix together until we've got a nice soft bread dough. Give it a little bit of a knead, let it rise, knock it back, make the buns, pop them in the old smoker, and rubbish father's brother. And I'm just going to get my hands in there and just rub the butter. You want all that butter, you don't want lumps in there, you want it all to be incorporated into that flour. I'm going to pop in some fast action yeast, 1 sachet, which is normally about 12 grams if you're using it from a pot. I'm going to crack an egg in, and then I'm going to start working the egg and the yeast together. You can just incorporate a little bit of flour at a time. That's the key really, to make sure it's nice and smooth. Slowly letting that flour come in. We're going to go in with the beer. Going further and further around into the flour, pulling more flour in as you go, until it comes around to something that resembles a bread dough. Okay, so you're just going to get your hands right underneath the dough and fold it over and catch all the flour that's left in the bottom of the bowl, and then just push the dough down into it, and you're kind of kneading it in the bowl until all of that flour is incorporated into the dough. The butter's going to help to keep this nice and soft until we get to the stage where we can take it out of the bowl. I'm just going to work it on a surface for, I don't know, 5 minutes. Okay, so now this dough is nice and smooth. You can see, like that. I'm just going to fold it into a ball, pop it back into its bowl. Just going to cling film it up. And then we're going to let that prove for about an hour until it's doubled in size. So in order to make the perfect slider roll, I use 60 grams of the dough. If you weigh out the rolls, you'll get even rolls. Otherwise, you're going to have all different size rolls and it just doesn't look anywhere near as good. That's 62, I'm happy with that. 1 or 2 grams either side isn't going to hurt. And then make a ball, the palm of your hand, just roll it around till you get a perfect little bun. We've got our 6 rolls evenly spaced in the pan here, so I'm just going to cover them with some cling film for a second prove. It should probably take only about half an hour, 40 minutes, because they're much smaller. The warmth will get into them more quickly, and they should double in size, and they'll be ready to bake, which leaves me with enough time to have another beer. It's a festival after all, you know what I mean? Right then, so the buns have done their second prove. They're looking sweet. They've just connected a little bit. I'm just going to take the cling film off now. We're going to glaze them with some egg and some sesame seeds, and then they're going into the Kamado to cook. I'm going to take an egg. So I'm just glazing all of these. It's important not to get too much egg on, otherwise you're going to end up with the bun sticking to the pan. So you just want to just about coat the top, and this is just going to help the sesame seeds to stick, but also give it an awesome shine at the end. This is a piece of oak whiskey barrel, which you're going to just drop into the coals. It's going to create some smoke, so we'll have like a smoky flavour to the bread as well. So that goes in. So this is a deflector plate here, which is going to stop our buns from burning underneath, act as a barrier between the fire and the bread. I've got an old metal tray here as well, which I'm going to pour some beer into to create some smoke, which really helps the buns to be super soft and not split, or hopefully not split. I'm just going to drop a little bit of beer in there, doesn't need to be too much. Lid on, grill on. Lid down, keep an eye on them. Woo. Okay, going to give these onions some attention now because one of them is sticking his hand up in the air telling me I'm done, because the cores pop right out, and that means that loads of that moisture has come out of the onions. They're going to be sweet and delicious. So I'm going to just take them off, pop them on a plate, let them cool down so that I can handle them in about 10 minutes time. I feel the need to have a little peek here. Oh, they're looking good. Get a bit more beer in there. Second bit of steam, we're just going to make sure that they don't split across the top. I want them to be nice and shiny and smooth. It's going well. Okay, let's talk about steak. So today we are going to be using a cut that you don't see too often actually. It's a Denver steak. So this comes out of the chuck, which normally you think of chuck is something that would be turned into mince or stewing steak, but this particular muscle runs through. It's the bottom end of the ribeye, so that is like a small cap of the ribeye essentially. You're going to slice this up into sort of like inch thick steaks, season it, let it come up to room temperature, and then we're going to cook it directly on the coals. So we call this dirty steak, so there's going to be no grills, and if you want to sear a steak properly you need heat, and I just love to cook this way. It's amazing. Can't wait to show you this. If I was going to cook this in a pan or on the grill, I'd probably hit it with a little bit of oil now, but that's not going to help with the ash because we're cooking it straight in the coals. So all we're going to do now is hit it with some sea salt, and that's it. Obscene amounts of salt. Okay, so these are ready to go onto the coals now. They're nice and white, not too much ash, literally straight on there. Absolutely recommend that you have a go at this, but if you do, please make sure that you use quality British lumpwood charcoal. If you use an imported stuff, it's usually from the rainforest, it's unsustainable. Don't ever use briquettes for this either because it's full of chemicals. Just pure British lumpwood is what you want, and you'll see how clean these steaks are. There's no ash on them, it's the way forward, but make sure you select some nice fuel. Right, so it's really important that you let your steak rest. So that's going to sit there probably for a little while because I've got a bit of work to do yet, but that's absolutely fine because at the end they're going to get hit with a little bit more beer and some steam, which will just warm them through again. The longer you can leave it to rest, the better, but at minimum you want to leave it for sort of half the amount of cooking time. Now, whilst the steak rests, we're going to sort out these onions. So they've been sat in the coals probably for about an hour, turned. You see they're all black on the outside. A lot of people think you throw them away, but inside find the most delicious, sweet, caramelized onion. Just pops apart. Whoa! See how easy it pops? So I've just rough chopped these onions. They're going to go into this pan with some butter and some of the lovely Hobgoblin Ruby and a little bit of salt and pepper. And that's going to make the most incredible base. When they've reduced down on those brioche buns, it's going to blow your brains out, mate. So good. Right, so we're going to make the cherry that's going to go on the top of this surf and turf slider now with these king prawns, which I'm going to shell, going to drop into a lovely beer batter using the ruby and into hot fat, and it's just going to be in on a skewer, which is going to be on the top of the slider. And I've got a little bit of a fetish for a fried prawn tail. If you haven't tried it, it's like crisp, delicious, and it also looks cool. So just leaving the tail on like that. Okay, so the key to this is to add a little bit of the beer at a time, mix it into the flour. If you put too much in, you're going to struggle to get the lumps out. So just working it in a little bit at a time, and it becomes a paste. The consistency you're looking for is like a thick milkshake. So just going to keep adding it. You'll see that it's just slowly coming together. You can put the beer down and just work that. Okay, so prawns are shelled. I'm just going to give them a little hit of some salt, like so. Then take a prawn into the flour. Now the flour is going to help the batter to grab hold of the prawn. Then we're going to go into the batter there. Now this is a little bit tricky, this next bit. We're going to try and get a skewer through it. So I'm going to pin it down to the board like this. And just pop the skewer in like that, and then slide it all the way to the top and repeat. These, I mean, I have no idea how hot this oil is because I'm cooking over fire, but normally if it was a fryer I'd do them about 180 and then take literally about a minute to cook. As soon as you can see they've gone pink, golden on the batter, whip them out. Looks good, eh? Done. Right, so get this steak sliced up now. Beautifully pink inside. It's quite rare, but that's fine because it's going to go back on the griddle to finish, and the steam will continue to cook it. I'm going to add the pepper now. I didn't put a pepper on at the beginning because obviously they were cooked on the coals and that would have just made the pepper burn, and that makes the pepper bitter and not very nice, so I always put it on at the end. It's a good tip for cooking steak in any situation. Put the pepper on at the end, man. Okay, so now we're just going to put a little pile of onions for each of the sliders onto this hot plate. So 1, 2, 3. Going to load each of them up with some steak. 1, 2, 3 bits for each slider will be plenty, I think. Now we're going to hit it with some mature cheddar. Right, the interesting bit now, we're going to pop the lids on. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last 2. And then we're going to hit it with a final bit of beer, which is going to steam the buns, melt the cheese, and make everything absolutely insanely delicious. Hit it with a cloche, couple of minutes, boom. Just going to put some English mustard onto these bases just because you can't not have English mustard with steak and onions, man. Okay, that should be, they've been under there for 2 or 3 minutes. I think we're going to be good to go to serve these. Yeah, man, that cheese is all melted. Okay. And as promised, the cherry on the top is our king prawn. And boom, there we have it. So, my beer brioche sliders with rare Denver steak, beer onions, and a beer battered king prawn on the top. I cannot wait to taste this. So I'm going to do it right now. I'm really happy with that. The bun is so soft, but the flavour of that beer really, really comes through. So rich and delicious. Right, I'm Adam Pennell, Shropshire Lad. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the recipe. Please let us know what you think in the comments below and tell us what you're going to be eating during Hobtoberfest. Cheers.